Hey, this is Troy from Planet 76. We've got some really good Sixers-focused content coming your way today. Make sure you subscribe to the pod so you can be in the know when we release new content. Enjoy the show.
Welcome, everybody, to Planet 76, episode 78. We are rolling along as usual. Thank you to everybody who has been sticking with us for the ride. My name is Michael, and Troy is here too, as usual. Make sure you guys subscribe to the podcast and give us your thoughts. Message us on Instagram, whatever you want to do. Subscribe on YouTube as well. And Sixers are approaching, not quite mid-season, but we're kind of just getting up that hill, if that makes sense. I feel like that makes sense. Yes,
makes sense to me.
Yes,
we're getting there.
And some good Sixers this past week and a half since we last recorded. So Troy, I'll let you start us off because I want to hear your genuine thoughts. I'm sure you've probably seen I haven't really been able to watch the Sixers much this week, so I just have some general thoughts and some things I'd like to see.
Sure.
But you take the stage, please.
Yeah. So we'll get into what the Sixers have been doing as of late, and really what that is, as you noted, a lot of good things to talk about. The Sixers are winners of 6 in a row, their longest streak of the season by far. I think the previous was 3, maybe. Mm-hmm. So it feels good. 18-12, coming to an end. Coming to the end of this long 7-game homestand. Just one more to go after tonight's win against Detroit on Wednesday night. They got Friday night. They got the Clippers. Yeah, the Clippers on Friday night, and then Madison Square Garden Christmas Day against the Knicks will be their first road game in a while against the red hot Knicks. So there's a lot of teams in the Atlantic Division that are red hot right now. So the Knicks finally dropped 1, but they had won 8 in a row. Sixers have won 6 in a row. The Nets have won 7 in a row. And notice the one team in the Atlantic Division I did not name, the Boston Celtics, have lost 3 in a row.
Really?
So they're coming back to the pack, and the pack is catching up to them. So even just to look at the Eastern Conference standings real quick, so the Bucks are atop the leaderboard at 22-9, and then you got the Celtics 22-10, and of course the Sixers only have 12 losses, so they're only somehow. It's crazy, you go on a little streak and see what happens, because go figure, other teams lose as well, but. Somehow the Sixers are only 2 back of the Boston Celtics in the loss column, which sounds really, really good.
Sounds weird.
You say that a couple weeks ago, you're like, that doesn't sound possible, but it is. Celtics lose 3, we win 6 in a row, and here we are. So good feeling, at least in that regard. Not that we're all about the standings, or certainly not yet, and we're not going to be. We trust this team against whatever it's going to look like in the playoffs. I hope so. But yeah, I was really encouraged just to see a couple of these games. So pretty encouraged about the overtime win against the Raptors the other night. That was good. That was good that they fought and got that win. The Raptors ended up tying it going into the fourth quarter. Late third quarter push that was pretty ugly for the Sixers, but they battled back, held on, and somehow it was a 5-2 overtime period that the Sixers won 5-2. Tobias was huge in that one, among other guys, but he's been good. He's been very good. I know you want to talk about him. And then, before I talk about James Harden, I want to hear your thoughts on him too. Since his return from injury, Tyrese Maxey yet to come back, but there's been other guys getting minutes and playing well, obviously. Playing well enough to help the Sixers win. Joel Embiid has still been tremendous. And again, tonight, I didn't get to catch any action tonight. Had a Christmas party.
Hey.
So, but they beat the Pistons tonight pretty handily. I just peeped at the box score. Nothing stood out super crazy anything, but they got the job done and used a lot of pieces to do it. So that's encouraging.
Yeah. And to your point about Harden, Now, the Houston game, we all are going to remember that. That one's going to be burned in our memory for the entire season, that Houston overtime game.
Yeah.
So, aside from that game, Harden's looked great. I really have had no complaints. He's been the offensive hub that that he's been this season so far when he's playing. He's creating, he's scoring pretty well, similar to what we saw at the beginning of the year before he got hurt. He's just doing so much for this team, and we talked about it in here. I talk about it basically every day at this point on my page in pretty great lengths of how Harden simply being on the court does wonders for this team and opens up the game in ways that don't exist without Harden being there. You can't really, unless you're one of the, best offensive players in the league right now, you can't replicate what James Harden does as an individual, but also for the Sixers. And I'm just going to echo what we've been saying here is you realize that is gone when you don't have it. It's very obvious when you're missing that sort of offensive creation and to that extent and for that long. It becomes noticeable after only a short amount of time, and we're really seeing what a guy like Harden brings to this team when it comes to putting points on the board, when it comes to getting other players the opportunities and creating advantages for the rest of this team, and really for himself too, because he's always been good at that.
Yeah. So for me, I guess, and this is a little crazy. So my maybe James Harden moment quote, like for this season, he had several moments last season, obviously, but my James Harden moment this season came in the game against the Raptors, just through the entire game. And the reason I say that is because he looked really, really quick. I mean, really, really quick. And I was a little surprised by that. Now, we knew last year with the hamstring and all of those things, he couldn't get by defenders as easily. And, dude, like there was, if you were to go back and watch, the tape from that game or watch a few highlights from that game, often Harden was pushing the break with the ball in his hands and going fast. And then in the half court, he could get by whoever he wanted to get by. But you look at the box score, his stats didn't necessarily, he didn't put up that many points, but he was able to find people as per usual. His box score, if you look at it, why am I so impressed with a James Harden 14-point performance? It's not really the box score. Yeah, it doesn't show.
I just wanted to echo that because
the full
I 100%
impact.
Agree. Sorry, go ahead.
Right, it doesn't show the full impact that he has. It doesn't show, what he's able to do. And in the half court, again, he would get by whatever guard was on him. He would get by him easily, and then he'd get into the paint and kick out because the defense would collapse. And it just shows, again, to your point, James Harden being on the floor makes a tremendous difference. Because I promise you, if James Harden gets by his defender and he's got an easy way to the rim, he's going to take it. You know what I mean? And so when he doesn't, he's kicking out to someone who's going to be open. And he was doing that time and time again, at least in my eyes, in the Toronto game. And, again, pushing the ball up the court in a very, very, very quick way that I had not seen from him in a long time. And I was very encouraged by that. So that was kind of my okay, James Harden, he looks good. And I was a little concerned, coming back from the injury, and he played 80 minutes against the Rockets when he first came back. But to see him, here a week and a half later, he looks good. And I was just again reminded how happy I am that guy's a 76er. It's pretty cool. All right, what about the other guy who has been playing well and his role has just ever changing in the 4 years since he's been here? His role's been ever changing this year, and that's none other than Tobias Harris. What can you say about him?
Well, for starters, let me just finish chewing. You give you give your bit about Harris. Just give me 1 second.
Okay, I'll give mine. You eat those cashews. So Tobias Harris, I think I kind of said it for me. Like he's, and I think they've said it on the broadcast a lot recently. Is just how many different roles he can play, all the different things that he can do, all the different things he's asked to do. You know, off ball, on ball, do this, catch and shoot, drive, post up, like guard the 2, guard the 3, guard the 4, guard this, like. He's asked to do a lot. He's of the, Sixers core, even of the last several years. He's the guy that's always dependable as far as health. He's always there. He's a staple. And so he's played with so many different guys and so many different units and so many different looks. And with that, his role changes because he can be the go-to guy. He can go all the way down to the 4th option at times in an offense. And, he doesn't complain. He just keeps on chugging. He keeps on doing it, and he keeps on performing. His 3-point shooting has just been terrific, and that's something we talked about a lot in the offseason and something that we wanted to see here on Planet 76. We're like, Tobias, shoot the ball. Get the ball on the outside and fire away, and he's done that. What did he say in the post-game against Toronto?
I'm a sharpshooter.
Tell a friend to tell a friend that I'm a sharpshooter.
Tell a friend that I'm a sharpshooter.
Yep.
He's
tell
right.
a friend to tell a friend that I'm a sharpshooter. And so I love that from Tobias Harris. I love what he's doing. And you just got to feel happy for the guy because, this is a team that, liked what they saw in him 4 years ago and are continuing to ride that wave with him. And he's playing well. So that's what I like about Tobias.
So, Tobias Harris is basically having a career year from 3. For his career, he shoots 3.7 attempts per game on 37%. This year, he's shooting 42%. Yeah, that's right. 42%, 5.5 attempts per game. Now, he's making the most of his career, well, tied for most. In 2017, he made 2.4. This year, he's making 2.3, whatever. He's also shooting the most threes per game for his career. And this is what you want to see from Harris. His best attribute is catching and shooting with minimal dribble, with minimal hesitation. And we saw it. I think it was that Raptors game when he had 6 threes.
He had 5.
Five threes.
5. One got taken away after the...
Yep. 5 for 7
crazy
from 3,
illegal
71%. Half of those threes were simply catch and shoot in the corner 3, and that's where he thrives. Season-high made threes, and not quite a season-high attempted threes, but he made 5 against Memphis a couple weeks ago, and he's
shooting 60% from 3 in the month of December,
and on really good volume. And you want your guys to be taking threes on volume and making them, especially if you're a guy like Harris. We're continuing to say it. His best ability is his 3-point shooting. You don't really need shot creation from him. You need him to shoot the ball because Harden's creating shots, Embiid's creating shots, Maxi's creating shots. You need Harris to make shots. You need Harris to make those shots that are being created by Harden, by Embiid. And Harris has been doing that. This is something that I don't want to say he's been their second best player, but I think him and Harden, that's pretty expected considering Maxi's out, but Harris has really risen to the occasion? Is that a word? Is that a word? I think that's a word. He's really risen to the occasion, and I am just I'm happy with this. And he's still bringing everything else that he brings. Good defense, good rebounding. This is a guy you want. This is the type of player that you want. A floor spacer, a guy who's still going to thrive and catch and shoot, a guy who's going to be active off the ball, a guy who can hold his own defensively. This is what you want out of your power forward in the modern NBA, and Harris has shown that 2 seasons ago, he showed that. Last year, he struggled. Obviously, we talked about it here, but it's just really great to see this. It's really, really great. You said he's shooting 60% from 3 in December?
In December, yep.
And that's...
on like 6 attempts a game.
Which is amazing volume. You're not Steph Curry, so you're not taking 11 per game. So anything...
And he's averaging 20 points in the month.
Anything more than 5 attempts per game, I think, is not only reasonable, but pretty admirable, too, especially from a guy like Harris. And you're talking December, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. So not the biggest sample size ever, but considering December's almost over and he's shooting 60%, that's a great boost and something that I can say for sure has benefited this team.
He's been huge. Again, I think, with all the inconsistencies, all the injuries, all the things this year, he's just been a staple. And started slow. There was some talk. Again, a guy trying to find his role on this ever-changing starting lineup that he finds himself in, year out. But man, has he come on! And I mean,
he was huge in that
we're
Kings
far
game.
away from playoffs, but like he is playing well and shooting the ball so well. And I just, I hope that continues. I mean, he's up from 3.5 or whatever 3-point attempts per game last year to 5.5 this year. Like that's what we asked for, and that's huge, and that's really good. And he's knocking them down because he's a sharpshooter.
Tell a friend.
He's good.
He's a sharpshooter.
So really, really like what we see from Tobias Harris this year, and again, you got to feel happy for the guy. What else from the Sixers? Win streak, because that's what this is about. So a 6-game streak for the Sixers. Actually, one more question, and then we'll talk about that, and then we'll wrap it up. So, with Tobias Harris, we asked this when all these guys come back. When Maxi's back now, how do we see the same Tobias Harris? If you're Doc Rivers, and you want to continue to have a guy shooting 60% from 3, or continue to be an integral part of the offense. How do you keep him doing that while keeping the other guys happy and keeping them getting their shots? And so, what's the formula there, Coach?
Well, I think it's the same, because I kind of talked about it a few minutes ago. But having the luxury of Harris not needing the ball to be productive on offense is huge, because the more off ball, I guess you could say, players you have on your roster, especially when you have a guy like Embiid and Harden, who both really need the ball. I think we talked about this before, but having too much ball dominance in the NBA is not good. You need a balance between off ball. I literally can't talk. You need a balance between ball dominance and off-ball abilities. Players who can do things off the ball. Players who don't need the ball to be productive. Meaning they can catch and shoot at a high clip. They can screen. They can roll. They can pass on the move. Things like that. Harris is one of those guys. PJ Tucker is one of those guys. Harris he's pretty active off the ball. He can move. He cuts. Sometimes he screens. Sometimes he rolls. But most of the time, he's a catch and shoot. He doesn't need the ball to be productive. He can just catch and shoot. He can catch one dribble, catch, pump, and drive. That's really valuable.
Right. Well,
that's really valuable.
I agree, because there's certainly no doubt that Tobias Harris's increase this year in catch and shoot threes, answers that question as to, how do you keep a guy like that involved in the offense? Well, you feed him. You send James Harden, on a pick and roll, and again, James Harden's going to get into the paint. He's going to kick out to the corner for somebody, and Tobias is going to be there. And so, Tobias is going to, he's going to have times where he gets the balls. He's going to have time where the play's drawn up for him, etc. But where last year Tobias is only shooting, maybe 3 threes a game. this year, if he's up 5-6 threes a game, like, you know, he has an opportunity to get shots that are catch and shoot shots, and his willingness to do that is a reason why I think, you know, Glenn Rivers should be happy to say that, like, you know, this guy's going to continue to be a major part of our offense because, as to your point, doesn't need the ball in his hands. He can knock it down if you just give it to him in the shooting pocket. So that's huge. You know, I think that's a huge bonus for the Sixers team this season.
And players who don't need the ball, like I said, players who don't need the ball to contribute on the offensive end are super valuable. And when you look at teams of the past, teams who have players who aren't necessarily ball dominant, that wins. Steph Curry is arguably the best off-ball player of all time. That's a huge reason the Warriors' offense works. And he's also your best player. So it really helps a lot. But even on a smaller level, on a smaller scale, you have guys like D'Anthony Melton, Tobias Harris, PJ Tucker, Maxey to a degree, who move off the ball, they're active off the ball, they're cutting, they're screening, they're rolling, they're getting in position to catch and shoot without hesitation. Those are traits that you can never have too much of. Too much ball dominance is not good in the NBA. But in terms of off-ball abilities, you can never have too much of that. And it's basically a necessity at this point. And the Sixers have a lot of that. And we've been talking about this, so it's I don't want to beat the drum too much here, but I think that pretty much sums it up for me.
Yeah. So there's certainly a lot to be encouraged by for the Sixers in this win streak. It's good. It's good to be at home. It's good to win games at home. It's good to win games you're supposed to win at home. It's just good. 18-12 through 30 games. Good feeling. A very balanced attack tonight in the 20-point win against the Detroit Pistons. I mean, you look at the box score. Harris had 17. Embiid 22, Harden 15, Melton 12, Niang 11, Harrell 10, Milton 9, Matisse 9, Daniel House 9. Daniel House had a pretty good night against Toronto too. Had some big buckets. So he's been coming on, and it's just cool to see all these pieces working together, and all these guys having some moments. We knew it would happen. We knew that how are all these guys going to see the floor? It's such a deep bench, but it's all coming together and working out pretty nicely for the Sixers. So certainly look forward to having Tyrese back and seeing what that's going to do for this team. But any other thoughts on just this win streak? And we got one more to close it out at home, and then we'll head to New York for Christmas.
Bring on the Knicks. Sixers are going to win.
Yes. I sure hope so. I thought about going.
Oh, yeah, you live right there.
I thought about going. I live right here, a train ride away.
It's probably super expensive.
I got church in the morning. I'd have to,
it's probably super expensive.
I'd have to get out real quick. Huh. Anyway. Yeah, tickets probably are expensive. But, hey, Sixers are streaking. Ooh, that might be the episode title. Sixers are streaking. This is episode 78. Tell a friend to tell a friend that this is Planet 76. And we will see you next time on the pod. Merry Christmas from Planet 76. We'll see you next week. Peace. If you are a Philadelphia 76ers fan, this is the podcast for you. Planet 76, a weekly podcast covering all things Philadelphia 76ers. We'll see you next time.